Hello everyone. So welcome back to ASEAN Clean Energy Week 2020 virtual conference. So this is Zoe and the project producer of Leader Associates. Very glad to see all of you again. So before we get started, I would like to remind a few points in short. So firstly, about who we are. We are a global leading event organizer concentrated on renewable energy. And in the past few years, we have hosted events across Asia Pacific, South Africa, South America, Africa, and Europe. Secondly, please kindly find the afternoon sessions brief agenda on the slides. So the afternoon sessions, Clean Energy Future Digitalization, aims to explore the market opportunities for renewable energy digitalization in Southeast Asia and from the aspects of energy trading, operation and maintenance, asset management, and the renewable energy value chain. And thirdly, I would like to remind you that one-on-one business meeting and the virtual exhibition of Solis and FEMA have already opened on our event platform and available for all speakers and delegates to have a visit. So the link of the event platform will later be sent to the chat box. And please take your time and explore more partnership. At last, all audience are welcome to raise any questions to our speakers through the Q&A box. Through the Zoom meeting control panel, we will select one or two questions for speakers to answer if after their presentations there are still time allowed. So for our first keynote sessions, which will be presented by Mr. Hazriel Isam from SIDA, Malaysia. His topic is Malaysia P2P Energy Trading Pilot Project. So Mr. Hazriel is the Director of Digital Service in Sustainable Energy Development Authority, Malaysia. He has 18 years experience in ICT service on data center and the network. In sustainable energy, he was involved in the developing the first green data center for government in Malaysia for Ministry of Energy and online feed-in traffic system for SIDA Malaysia. He has completed a pilot project for P2P energy trading under the regulation sandbox to look at the technical feasibilities. So, hi, Hazriel. Hi. Sorry, it seems like it's still mute. You can turn on the.
Okay. Sorry.
Yes, okay.
Hi, Zoe. Can you see me now?
Yeah, I can see you now.
You see the presentation?
Yes, I see it.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are from. I also would like thank you for joining us today, and I also would like to thank ACEW for inviting me today to share about Malaysia's first P2P energy trading pilot project under the regulatory sandbox, which was completed on last June 2020. I'm Hazril, the Director of Digital Services in Sustainable Energy Development Authority Malaysia, or also called SEDA. A brief about SEDA. We are a government agency reporting to the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources. We were established last time in September 2011 under the SEDA Act. Our primary functions to implement the feed-in tariff scheme and also to advise the minister on the matters related to sustainable energy. Okay, SEDA has decided to come out with a pilot run of the P2P energy trading platform to conduct on the technical feasibility studies, so that we can understand further about this technology or trend currently happening around the world. The objective of this pilot project is actually shown in the slide, and mainly is actually to simulate the P2P energy trading within the sandbox environment, and also in the same time to identify the motivation of reason of why people can participate, and we're also looking into the required regulation for the future implementation. In the same time also, I would like to take the this opportunity to thank to all our stakeholders that involved last time, such as Ministry, Energy Commission, and TMB, the utility company, and also the Power Ledger as our partner to provide the platform during this pilot project. Okay, for your information, electricity market in Malaysia is regulated, so therefore that we require a regulatory sandbox to run this pilot project. Regulatory sandbox in this project means that certain of the provision been allowed, or some of the regulation be relaxed to allow the prosumers and also the grid operator to run this project. Okay. In terms of what has been allowed or provision during the regulatory sandbox last time, the first one is actually to allow the trading between the prosumer and consumer. Under this project, actually we selected the NEM as a prosumer because they are from the existing solar rooftop program. And second one, there is interim network charges approved to be used during this pilot project so that the trading can be happen. Beside of only the P2P price from the prosumer, we also adding up the network charges. We try to simulate as real as possible under this pilot project so that we know the impact, especially on the technical and also some of in the financial. The third one is actually there is no retail platform, although if you are aware, around this world, there are many platforms that has been developed, and including the charges, it depends on the business model or depends on the area that how actually the tariff been structured. So under this pilot project, there is no retail or platform charges imposed. And the last one is actually on the treatment of the untraded electricity. This is actually from the prosumer. Any untraded will be accepted by TMB, but with a zero cost. So this is actually showing the technical potential. We found this actually last time under our renewable energy transition roadmap. As you can see, there are high potential solar rooftop PV installation to be installed in Malaysia. So P2P has been identified as one of the strategies to encourage or to boost up this rooftop. So that's why, based on this, we move forward and we start the run the pilot project. Okay. Just to share, currently in Malaysia, there are several programs for the rooftop. One is actually the NEM, and last time there is a feed-in tariff. Okay. And current NEM is actually 1-to-1 basis, and it's going to be end by this 31st December 2020. Okay, so this slide is actually showing the concept of our pilot project, how actually been run or conducted last time. There are several main stakeholders, participants. The first one is actually the prosumer. So under this pilot project, because we need someone to generate, so we have selected the prosumer from the NEM. The reason why, because they are already installed with their rooftop. So to participate for this, they just need to suspend for the time being from their NEM and join this project. They are the one who produce the energy, and second one is actually the utility company which is under this project is actually the TMB. They are the one who own the grids. They are also the one who operate the grid itself. They are also, besides of providing the grid, they are also supporting us in terms of the smart meter, providing the smart meter for this project, and also billing system for this pilot project. So in terms of how actually the P2P can be happen for this pilot project, the trading we actually based on the price arbitraging model. So meaning that the prosumer is actually from the lower tariff, and the consumer is actually from the higher tariff. So by joining this project, the prosumer, rather than their self-consumption, like just now in them, is 1-to-1. So they can actually sell with additional under this, additional from their existing tariff, so that they can make some margin from their excess energy. In terms of the consumer, they are actually from the higher tariff, so that by participating this, in this under project, so they can have some saving. I will show in terms of how actually the tariff structure that been selected for this pilot project. Okay. The last one, oh sorry, just now I already mentioned about the TMB. Okay. So next, okay, what are we looking under this project? There are many things, and this is actually the key one, especially on to establish this, to complete this pilot project. The first one is on the infrastructure itself. For example, we are looking into the what type of meter, energy meter that can be used or should we use to optimize this project. So based on this, actually, for example, the requirement to participate this, at least you must have a smart meter or RMR meter. So then only the meter can capture your energy transaction and demand and also the generation. Under the infrastructure also, we are also looking into the communication, how actually the data from the energy meter can be transferred to the platform, to the P2P energy trading platform. Under the infrastructure also, we are also looking into the development of this P2P trading platform. So for this project, it's actually the platform is being provided by the Power Ledger, an Australian company. We also looking into how actually, because we are dealing with many types of meters, on how actually to streamline and to process it. So there are some mitigation that I will share later. And the next one is actually because this is a new technology, or we can say also a new opportunities in the RE, so that we need to establish several process. For example, how we are going to process the data, how are we going to process the trading, how are we going to process the settlement. So the next one is actually participant. So this is also one of the challenges, because we need to find the prosumer that have enough energy to export, and at the same time we need to find the consumer that will demand the energy during the energy when the prosumer is actually generating the energy. This is also one of the challenges. I will share later how actually. At the same time also, we during this pilot project, we are also sharing our knowledge with public, with the participant, with stakeholders, and we also several session and discussion with them. We also been approached by public especially and expressed their interest. And of course, we have because most of them actually interested to participate and to have the opportunity to see the real how the P2P to be happen. But however, just now I mentioned we need to find the one that with the most suitable from the prosumer and from the consumer side. The next one is actually business model. We are actually also looking how actually the P2P can be a business model, and it can be sustained to all the stakeholders, such as a prosumer, consumer, even the utility company itself. And also it could be other potential of the business model. And under this business model also, we are also looking on in terms of the challenges and the risks for under this P2P energy trading pilot project. The last one is actually we are looking into the regulation, of course, because just now I mentioned this is actually a regulatory sandbox. So regulation is also one of the area that we are looking on how to enable the P2P energy pilot project, and also in the same time for the future. Especially just now I mentioned in terms of how prosumers can sell to the consumer, how the trading can be happen, how the settlement should be regulated. Okay. So this is the challenges and mitigation. Is actually a continuity from the previous slide. So all the area that we are looking is actually, of course, with the challenges, and in the same time to complete it, we have to find the mitigation. All right. For example, for the infrastructure, just now I shared, we are dealing with multiple type of meter, communication, and many types of data from the existing meter. So how we mitigate this? Because we require this data to be processed to the Power Ledger platform, the P2P platform, and after that, the data need to be passed to the billing system, which is actually under the utility. So what we did last time is actually we have developed a data aggregator that the function is to format the meter data and follow the requirement from the P2P energy trading platform itself. Second one on the recruitment, because we need to identify. So actually, I think many profiles that we have gone through, because this is actually, for example, someone approached us and we asked, okay, can we see your bill at least 3 months before, and then we request from the utility and to see their detail, because under the billing it's only just amount of energy without the energy profile. So we liaise with the utility company and we get the energy profile so that we know that when is actually the peak demand of this consumer or the prosumers. Third one is actually on the energy, to establish challenges on to establish the energy trading itself, because the energy trading itself need to process the data and need to have some logic in terms of how actually the clearance, because the most challenges is actually how we can optimize the trading under this energy trading platform. So just to share, we adopt last time the trading logic is actually cheapest prosumer's price to be cleared first. So meaning that at any time, if there is any energy generated from the prosumers to the grid, and there are demands from the consumer, the energy from the prosumers with the cheapest trading will be cleared first to the consumer. Okay, and how we mitigate is actually we study the profile so that we can match or optimize the trading. Okay, the last one is actually on the process. Because this is considered new, so we have to deal with multiple agency or multiple stakeholders to streamline the process. Okay, and at the same time also the process that we have established also need to cater especially on the risk and ensure the fair and transparent to the all parties, especially from the prosumer and consumer. They require, I mean, they want to see how much actually the energy being sold and how much actually they are buying from they bought from the P2P energy trading. So okay, in this slide, it's actually showing the final participants for our project, although there are several already withdraw because many reasons. For example, it is not commercial viable for them to participate due to, for example, from the prosumer, maybe most of their untraded energy cannot match with the selected consumers. So that's why there are many untraded energy. So that's why end up based on their comparison between joining them or joining P2P, shows that joining them is better compensation rate compared to the P2P. So they withdraw their participant. Okay, so in this slide, it shows that there are 4 prosumers and there are about 8 consumers. Although originally we designed to have the equal 5 prosumer and 5 consumer, but however along the way we found out that it is not optimized because there are many untraded energy from the prosumer side. So that's why we switch and we have done simulation and selected more consumer side so that they can optimize the energy that generated from the prosumer. So at the top, it shows that the Power Ledger as a platform provider and Tenaga Nasional as a utility company that support this, and also TNBX play as a retailer role. So they share their concern and also their experience. On the prosumer side, mostly it's actually from the commercial. The reason why, because they have a bigger capacity, so they have more energy to be exported. Because we need to match it with a consumer. So on the consumer side also, because the prosumer is actually coming from the NEM, so most of the time their excess energy or they are going to export the energy during lunch on the weekday, the normal weekdays actually during lunch, or mostly during the weekend. It depends on the operation because under the NEM, they will self-consume first. The one that excess, only they export to the grid. Okay, on the consumer side, we need to find the consumer that can match with the prosumer side, so that we require consumer that's actually operating during weekend and also high demand. So on the weekday, at least during the lunch. So that's why under this project, the consumer is actually coming from the hotel, from the shopping complex, from the cold storage, from the school, and also from the rest area of the highway. If you can see the plus, this is actually rest area in Malaysia highway. Okay, at the bottom, it shows the prosumer and consumer selected tariff. Means that most of this consumer is actually coming from the tariff E2, which currently is about 0.355 cents. So that under this pilot project, they have we facilitate, we advise them, okay, you can sell it at 10% margin. So they will sell, they sold the energy is actually 39.05 cents compared to their existing tariff, which is 35.5 cents. And on the consumer side, mostly it's actually on the high tariff, which is actually from the tariff B. Their existing tariff is actually 50.9 cents. So by participating this, so if you look at the prosumer, they are selling at 39.5, and plus with the network charges, so end up they are buying the P2P energy trading at 45.35 cents. So they still get some saving on this. So this is what I told you just now, the price arbitraging opportunities between the prosumer and consumer. Okay. All right, so this is the snapshot of the P2P energy trading platform, which is really provided by the Power Ledger. So that in this slide, because all participants, including SEDA, prosumer, consumer, energy commission, ministry, TNB, they have access to this. For SEDA, for utility company, for ministry, for energy commission, they can see all of the participant trading. But for the participant, they can only see themselves only. So for example, in this case, it's actually showing the sold, meaning that it's actually from the prosumer. So they can see how much actually the energy being generated and being sold under this P2P energy. The green one showing that how many that been sold to the peer, means actually the consumer, and the grey one is actually sold to the grid. It means that it's actually untraded and accepted by the utility company at zero cost. So from this, actually, we can see how much the potential, or is it the matching between the prosumer and consumer is optimized or not. Okay. Okay, so this is my last slide. It's actually the key takeaways based on our project that I would like to share. The first one is on the infrastructure. It is important to have a seamless integration so that the process can be shorter and I think much transparent to all parties. For example, the integration from the meter itself, from the meter energy up to the P2P energy trading platform and back to the billing system from the utility. So if this one can be done seamless, it become, I think, more easier to adoption of this P2P in the future. Second one on the participation, based on our study, based on our pilot project, it shows that most of the participants actually participate for this project due to the economic return, especially how much they can have saving, margin, and what is they are taken. So that's why this is an area that actually need to be catered for the future. And in terms of the participation also, it require the process actually to enroll into this project should be simplified so that the prosumer or the consumer will not be hassled with many things to just to participate. It needs to be simplified. For example, in terms of the form to participate, it should be simple and just enough to capture the requirement for them. Based on our pilot project also, there are some risks that we identify. For example, just now I keep mentioned about the untraded energy. So this is considered a loss to this to the prosumer especially. So they will always think, or in the future, anyone that wants to participate, we always think about how much actually they are this. But there are several ways that they can reduce this risk, especially on the untraded, because, for example, under our project, because we have a limitation of number, so that's why we can't increase too many consumers to participate. But in the actual implementation, this is one of the way that to reduce the untraded. And second one is actually the retailer will play an important role, especially on the settlement and also as the counterparties for being the last buyer. For example, just now, any untraded rather than being a zero energy, rather than being a zero cost, the retailer can buy and sell it back to the other consumer. All right. The last one is actually on the commercial viability. We foresee that the network charges or the system charges play an important or give a market signal whether the P2P energy trading will be viable commercially in the future or not. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all. Over to you. Thank you very much.
Hi, Hasriel. Hi, thank you. Yeah, thank you for your speeches. It's very amazing. And also we got about 2 questions from our audience. So maybe you can take a time to answer them. So in the Q&A box, you can find your questions. So our first question is, what is the range in terms of distance between the prosumer and the consumer for this system to operate?
Sorry, let me try. Okay, let me stop share. And only I can see. Okay, all right. What is the range in terms of distance between the prosumer and consumer in order for the system to operate? Okay, for this project, because we have challenges to identify, it will be ideal if it's actually within the same distribution. So meaning that within, for example, in the same area or district, it will be good. Because in terms of the losses or the energy generated is not going to be through the transmission, it's always on within the distribution only. But however, for our case, because there are not many people actually aware about this P2P, and when we approach them and ask, would you like to participate, they are a bit reluctant because they don't understand much. So that's why what we did is actually, for this pilot project, the consumer and prosumer is actually coming from the entire Malaysia, just to have a concept or to prove that how actually the energy can be traded.
Right, thank you. And so, well, we got one more question, but I'm afraid we only got select one. And so,
okay, so
yes.
will prosumer be, okay, maybe the second one, will the prosumer be limited to maximum 60%? All right, for this one, because just because of currently we select it from the NAM project, NAM program, so of course it's actually 60%, but in the future it depends on what mechanism are we going to be adopted, and when or which mechanism that P2P will be adopted. So it depends on the technical requirement in the future, because this is actually coming from the grid itself requirement.
Yes, okay. And so if so I think quite the audience got quite very interested in your speeches. If you don't mind, maybe you can like give them your answers. So just by typing it, type the answer to them. So yeah, it would be great. So and you can also stay in this room, and we will keep you as a panelist. So if there are more questions for you, you can just answer them directly.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Yes. Right. Thank you so much for your presentations. Yeah. Thank you. Bye. Okay. So that was the presentation presented by Mr. Hazel Eisen from ACEW Malaysia. If audience have more questions, you can raise the questions through the Q&A box. And for our next sessions is a panel discussions. Topic is the digital application of renewable energy value chain, which will be presented by speakers from EDF, GE, and the tier-based. And Mr. Adrianto from Medical Power Indonesia will be the moderator of this panel. He has the 10 years experience in business development, investment, operation, engineering, and business processing focused on energy industries. So he is also very passionate about leading business development activities for renewable energy and hybrid energies. And so, hi, everyone. So can you can all turn on your microphone and your camera?
Hey Zoe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. So here is your panel discussions, and you can start to this panel now.
Sure, thank you very much. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrianto Darmoyo. I'm from Medco Power Indonesia, leading the Renewable Platform Division. So for today discussion, we're going to have a topic called digital applications of the renewable energy value chain. We will have three panelists from Terabase, from EDF, and from GE. I think it's a good mix from the service provider, OEMs, as well as from the IPP point of view. We will hear the importance of digital applications, specifically in renewable energy. As you might know, that renewable energy penetration, specifically in the region, has been quite active in the past year. As a quick highlight that, in Vietnam, you see that we're expecting a huge amount of energy COD, but renewable energy COD, specifically in wind, about 2 gigawatt next year. In Cambodia, we're looking at below 4 cents of tariff in PV. In Myanmar, we're looking at 1 gigawatt PV as well, that the tender was completed this year. In Indonesia, the tariff now is less than 4 cents from the recent bid it read out. Malaysia also reaching like the announced for LLS procurement about 1 gigawatt. So you'll see that quite a lot of activities in renewable energy, specifically in this region. And the tariff is also quite competitive. So we're expecting that the renewable energy tariff getting more and more competitive, and we can see from today's discussion that how this digital application will play the important role of the renewable energy development. So as the first panelist is Pierre. I think each panelist will have about 5 minutes to introduce their company, their role, and after that, we'll go through to the Q&A session. So Pierre, you can start to introduce your company.
Thanks, Adrianto, and hi, everybody. Let me share some slides that I have here. Pull it up. Can you see my screen right now, just to confirm?
Yes.
Yes, great. So thanks, Adrianto, for the introduction, and I'm very happy to be part of this panel today, discussing how digital innovations can help with developing projects and in solar in particular, especially considering the downward cost trend and the pressure on PPA prices. But before we go into that discussion, here are a few slides about who Terabase Energy is and how we're helping the industry achieve that cost reduction. So Terabase Energy is a young company. We've launched in about 2 years. 2 years ago, we spun out of a large solar company. Our team had developed very large-scale projects around the world over the past 15 years, and we were all involved in functions as varied as product development, project construction, project financing, technology development, and so forth. Lately, in particular, within Terabase Energy, we've been involved in about 400 megawatt of projects in Southeast Asia, in particular in Vietnam. In different capacities, we've been providing engineering services. We've deployed our platform, our software platform to some of the projects. We supported customers in selecting equipment for those projects and so forth. But overall, our key goal, to summarize it, is that we want to deploy a platform that can deliver a 1 cent per kilowatt hour solar within the next 5 years. So it's pretty ambitious, but from what Adrianto was saying, you already hear about PPA tariffs in Southeast Asia around 3 cents. There are some places like the Middle East where those PPA tariffs are as low as 1.5 cents. So we are definitely trending towards the direction of 1 cent. And what we think is that to get to 1 cent, we absolutely need more digital. So that's what we've been focused on. And you see a screen here of the digital platform we've released and that you can have access to online. You just go on the Terabase website and you find a link to register for a free account to the platform. We think that the key area where costs can further be reduced is related to soft costs, meaning that material costs have significantly decreased over the past decade, solar panels in particular, but the way projects are developed and built is still more or less the same as 10 years ago. And we believe that with more digital, we can streamline the entire process, reduce the cost to develop and build projects, and also compress the timelines to doing so. In addition to software, in which I will drill a bit more into, we are, as a company, also providing services during the development phase, engineering services, procurement services, and also a different platform allowing for a more streamlined project, PV solar project construction. A quick view here on what is the problem statement we're trying to address. So costs need to go down. The solar industry is more and more competitive. And we see, as I mentioned, the reduction of overall power plant costs reducing significantly. Here it's just a 4-year window, but you see that it reduced significantly from 1.5 cents more or less to 0.8 cents. Now we are even lower, closer to 0.5 or 0.6 cents. Dollar, so 60 cents. And that dark green part of the chart is what we call the soft costs. And so it has decreased as well, but not as fast as the rest of the costs. So it becomes a more and more important of a cost stack that the industry now needs to tackle. So the soft costs are related to development, procurement costs, financing, construction, and O&M. And what we see is that all those areas rely on very conventional ways of doing business. A lot of emails, a lot of Excel spreadsheets being exchanged, a lot of flights sometimes, at least before the pandemic, a lot of phone calls between all those different parties involved in developing and building a solar project. So we're looking at streamlining that by deploying this platform, which is summarized at a very high level here, which has really 3 foundations: a development platform, a deployment platform, and then an operations platform. On a side note, we are working on this field factory that ties to the digital deployment platform that will allow for a much more streamlined and faster construction process. Terabase recently received grants from the US Department of Energy to fund for those R&D efforts related to the automation and field factory. Second to last slide is, a view of our development platform. If you log in, you'll be able to navigate anywhere in the world, to look at different GIS layers, to draw project boundaries, to look at different technologies to optimize your projects. And quite importantly, in some of the countries that we're in East Asia, 3D is a big, and topography is a big concern. So you'll be able to optimize your project in 3D, be able to streamline the project development, so to really have less sequential and more parallel tracks to assessing cost, yield, financial parameters, and so forth. A big debate in Southeast Asia as well is fixed tilt versus tracker. I think the industry tends to do fixed tilt, but tracker still presents a big opportunity due to the higher yield. And with the Terabase platform, you'll be able to compare and see how much more yield you'll be able to generate with a tracker versus a fixed tilt. Last slide here that gives you a view into another view into the platform. So a lot of the soft costs in developing and building solar projects are related to sometimes risks that were not properly identified or communication gaps between parties. And our goal with the platform is to show all the information relevant to the project, like pull-out test locations, like a geotech report and so forth, so that everybody on the project is on the same page, and so that the risks are properly understood and mitigated for successful construction phase. So that's one of the challenge that our platform is addressing. We've been also working on a mobile app, which is still in beta version, but which allow people to collect data on site to be able to pull that into the platform for other people in the office to look at the information that was collected and as a team address any challenges that have been identified. So I look forward to more discussion during the Q&A session, and I'd be happy to share my perspective on why digital is really needed for the storage, and I guess to achieve what's ambitious cost targets. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Still here?
Right. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Sure. Thank you, Pierre.
yes.
Great presentations. I guess we're going to have a lot of questions, interesting questions, I guess, during the Q&A session. So for the next panelist, we have Jianming from EDF. Jianming, you have 5 minutes to introduce yourself and also EDF as well.
Thanks, Adriano. Thanks, Pierre, for your introduction as well. Maybe let me share my screen. Wonder if it's okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Right, good. I mean, it was interesting that, Pierre, you mentioned that you guys are trying to drive towards 1 cent per kilowatt hour. I think it's worth noting that EDF recently in the Middle East, we secured a 2 gigawatt project at 1.35. So I think we are nearly there. So that's good. So maybe take the focus a little bit one step backward to understand. Just want to speak a little bit about what EDF does as a global company, and I'll just take the opportunity also to zoom in specifically to what we do in Asia, specific to the digital application of, say, renewable energy. So in general, EDF is one of the biggest utility company in the entire world, and of course, one of the things that we pride ourselves with is our renewable capability. Our nuclear capabilities actually. So in France, we have 57 nuclear power stations, and we are established across the entire value chain of electricity, from generation all the way to the retail business, especially in key European countries such as France, UK, Italy, and Belgium. And of course, worldwide operations of more than 27 countries. We are trying to push a lot towards renewables, and we are currently one of the leading producer in Europe. And we are trying to, as I explained earlier, grow our presence in Asia, in America, as well as in the Middle East. So that's kind of where we are. And we are trying to drive towards a net zero energy future, where there's an electricity innovative solution to kind of help to drive towards a carbon-free society. So some key figures of 2019, as you can see here, approximately 122 gigawatts under the ownership of EDF. I would say half of them belongs to nuclear, another 25% of them goes to renewables. So that's kind of the rough guidance of like where EDF is. We are currently around 85% state-owned by the company. And one very important metric here that we see here is that we are currently 90% carbon-free emission. And we are trying to drive that number higher as we go further. In terms of our renewables production, as mentioned earlier, 25%. I mean, what you see here is around 32 gigawatts out of 120 gigawatts. 25% of our generation are renewables. Huge portion of them are hydro, and a lot of them are actually based in Europe. As we are based in Asia, these are some of the things that we are trying to develop in key markets for us, such as India, Vietnam, Myanmar, and last but not least, Indonesia. These are our key markets of focus in Asia, as we are kind of in this geography at this point in time. Specific to our activities in digital footprint within the region, I think one of the key things that this is actually very closely tied to what Hazril from SIDA spoke earlier about peer-to-peer trading. So what we see here is that as more resources become more decentralized and it comes from more external, outside inwards, we see the need for more of such applications, such as a distributed energy resource management. So on this basis, we actually built a pilot. I mean, we have built a pilot, but it's not exactly a grid-connected pilot. It's an off-grid pilot in a small island in Singapore. I mean, Singapore is essentially an island, but there's one more small island off Singapore that we built some PV asset. We built combined with diesel gen set with some batteries, to be exact, is a zinc air battery as well as a lithium iron phosphate battery. So we try to configure it such that there's a generation that charges the battery, and the battery in turn charges a vehicle to grid-enabled vehicle. And it allows a two-way bidirectional charging and discharging into a centralized platform, and how do we kind of manage this flow of electricity. So we have built this pilot, and we are extracting a lot of learnings from it. These are one of the things that we see as we grow further on a grid scale level. In terms of a municipal microgrid, how does all this bidirectional flow of electricity works to integrate? I mean, of course, the objective here is to integrate as much renewables as much as possible, and for obvious reasons. And how do we kind of manage that in a microgrid structure, in an off-grid context, and after that, how do we kind of implement that in a grid-connected solution? So this is one of the things that we look at. But of course, the key enabler to manage all this peer-to-peer trading comes down to the bread and butter of having smart meters. So with smart meters, we are currently deploying. I mean, in France, we are in the process of deploying 35 million smart meters. In India, we recently won a contract alongside one of our partners to deploy 5 million smart meters, and these are the key technology enabler, or rather the hardware that allows all this, what I've just explained in the previous slide, to happen. And I think the key in all these things that I've just explained is it's not about that technology itself. It's really about the know-hows and the ability to scale in a very fast pace at a low cost. So I think this is the kind of know-hows that EDF bring on the table, and I think the partners in India and of course the authorities sees this benefit, and we are kind of rolling out that as we speak. So I think that's really a short introduction. Of course, we have a lot more topics that we can talk about, but specific to the digital section in Asia, I think this is pretty much I would share for now. Back to you, Adrianto.
Thank you, Jamie. I think it's very interesting on your smart energy solutions, and definitely we're going to have a Q&A later to discuss a little bit more deeper about your solutions. So our last panelist, we have Arka from GE. So Arka, you have 5 minutes to do your presentation.
Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Right. Okay. So thanks, Adri and Pierre and Jinming. Maybe I would like to introduce a little bit about GE and also myself, and then we can have a little bit of the question and answer later. Basically, GE is a multinational company. Hopefully, everyone is familiar about GE. We are operating in several businesses in aviations, in healthcare, power, and renewable. I am currently the market development director for GE in Indonesia, looking after for all of the 4 businesses here in the country. So basically, power, renewable, aviations, and healthcare as well. It's a good presence here in Indonesia. We have around 1,300, 1,400 young Indonesian talent operating here in the country with several footprints as well for manufacturing a couple of the products here. When it comes to renewable specifically, right? Basically, what we do is a bit of everything. So we do onshore wind, offshore wind. We do solar. We do hydro, obviously, and also we do battery storage, right? Just a bit on the context of intermittency for wind. I believe the global install base we have around 65 to 70 gigawatt, and also for solar we have 7.5 and 8 gigawatt, and that front of the technology. And when it comes to digital, right? I think Pierre and Jinming has touched upon a little bit on this one. We see certain level of digital kind of application, right? So we have level 1 up to level 4. So from the plan level itself, there's a lot of way where we can optimize, and level 1 mainly to predict in terms of reactive responsiveness. I believe in Indonesia or in the ASEAN region, most of them are having level 1 at the moment. Slowly, we are now progressing to level 2 into a predictive kind of scale to understand a little bit more what is going to happen in the field, in the plan level, and also in the grid level. Right, and then the top level going to be the autonomous level, where basically the plant can heal themselves and basically do a little bit of the corrections in it. When when we see a bit on the entire spectrum, right, this is basically what we in GE are doing. Say, for example, in the grid level, with more and more intermittency coming in, it will be very crucial for balancing the productions and demand, and also improving the grid resiliency, and of course, the energy efficiency, right? More than that, we do also develop the APM on the plant level and also in entire grid ecosystem. And quite interesting enough, just to add a little bit on the GE grid, what we do as well here, Adri, is that we have a smart grid or smart substation, we call it, which is quite unique that we change some of the equipment or the core material inside with a smarter equipment that reduces the footprint significantly. As you know, here in Jakarta, or in the urban area in ASEAN might be a little bit difficult to get land, as it is very limited and very expensive. So we are looking into that as well to optimize things. But basically, we understand that there's a lot of challenges in the industry with having more and more intermittency coming to the grid as well. Wind and solar, and as you know, in the ASEAN region is coming by very fast or very accelerated kind of pace. So this is why GE has been investing in this field as well, to basically package our expertise in the hardware front and also going to the software front as well. So I think this is a bit of the introduction, very high level introduction, what GE is doing. And hopefully we can discuss a little bit more in the question and answer session. Adri, thank you so much.
Sure, thank you, Arka. Very interesting. So for the viewers, if you have any questions or questions, so you could just type in your questions and we can go one by one later. So feel free to put your questions. So I think let's go through. Pierre, you probably know what is my question, I guess, from your presentations. The goal, right? I think Jiaming already mentions that you have a goal to reach 1 cent by 2025, even though we understand in projects in Middle East, probably Jiaming's project, I mean, it's already reaching 1.35 cents with that certain conditions, right? But for this region, right? I mean, in Southeast Asia, we're talking about 3 cents now. To reach 1 cent in this region, different irradiation rate, different, financing risk, those kind of stuff. But what do you think is the biggest challenge for this region to meet those 1 cent target by 2025?
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question. What we've seen over the past 1 or 2 years, especially in Vietnam, is that there is wasted value because of very tight schedules with feed-in tariff cliffs and timelines that drive very tight schedules. When you have a tight schedule, you cannot make the perfect decisions on everything. And so you end up leaving money on the table. With digital solutions, you'd be able to find answers to your questions faster, compress the timeline, and really maximize the value of your projects despite that very tight time frame. So I think that would be one. I'm not necessarily saying that every project in Southeast Asia will have very tight schedules. I think overall solar projects tend to have very compressed schedules. The NTP always tends to push out while the COD date is always maintained. So there will always be schedule pressure. And then maybe another one too is that solar is growing very fast in Southeast Asia. And despite the motivation, the enthusiasm of people I've been working with in the region, there will be a lack of skill set, and that's true in other places as well. But the faster you grow, the more severe that lack of skill set is, and you can supplement this lack of skill set or this increasing capacity building by software that holds the user's hand in developing and building project. So, for example, within the Terabis platform, you no longer need to be, a performance engineer to have access to estimate the yield of your project. You can do it by yourself. At the end of the day, at the very end of the process, during the financing phase, you will need to have a bankable yield simulation. But to empower people who have this enthusiasm to dive into solar, and to support them with digital tools, I think is the way to go and a way to mitigate that situation of maybe lack of skill set in the short term.
Great. So we're going to have with your explanations, and we'll probably later on in the implementations, we're going to have a surprising readout next couple of years, right, in the region. So I hope. So, Jianming, very interesting presentation, specifically on smart energy solutions, and we know that EDF have a wide range of expertise, as an operator, as the IPP, as we're talking about renewables, putting as a as an IPP for solar, for example. What do you think these digital applications can help EDF in terms of getting better revenue, better tariff, and what the other innovative digital solutions that we can think of in the next few years, I guess. So any comments on that? So you're still on mute, Jianming.
Right. Sorry. Thanks. So thanks for the question. I mean, personally for me, I'm working for the international division arm of EDF. So EDF Renewables is definitely a separate subsidiary of EDF, but of course, what is one of my key mandates to kind of help to work together with them very closely to bring them to the region. So I think as a but of course, speaking as a developer, putting the head of a developer of renewable energy project, I think it is important to ensure that they generate stable production. That's all that we try to ensure all the time, so that translates to like cash returns to the owner. But as we know, renewables are intermittent. You can't really guarantee that there will always be sun. You can't always guarantee that there will always be wind. We try to forecast as much as possible. Climate's changing, but in terms of what is actually happening to a solar asset, we think that there are two risks that could happen. First thing is that take the example of what I've just spoken for. Sorry, am I still there?
Yeah, you're still there.
Yeah, let's take the example. Sorry, I think there's something that. Okay, sorry. Let's take the example of the Middle East project that I've just mentioned earlier. So what I was trying to say is that when it's in the middle of the desert, there's a lot of dust collection on the panel, which potentially could result in reduced performance, not only in the desert but everywhere else. If you have dust, if you have a bird shit on landing on panels and so on, it could result in reduced performance, and all these prolonged shadings, as we know, could then again result in hotspot and worst case fire risk. But as we know today, let's take an example of utility scale project panels that are of 1500 volts backsheet. So if we string them in a per inverter, we are getting approximately 27 panels per string. Of course, the panels technology are constantly improving, and it depends on the backsheet that it can sustain per voltage of the panel. What we see here is that when an inverter sends a signal to the project developer that this string is not performing as well, it is usually quite difficult for us to identify which specific panel is defect. So what happens is that we know that string is not performing well, and then we can't identify which panel. So that is an issue. Recently, we have launched a very successful EDF Pulse program in India, where we go out and we try to scout for potential startups that provide innovative solutions to resolve issues like that. So I think one of the things that I would like to share is that there's this startup which provide a solution of cleaning robots. Basically, these robots are mounted onto the mounting structure of this string configuration. They will go up and down. First of all, it serves the purpose of cleaning without the use of water. I understand that they are using dry cleaning, which is very important, because the more water you waste, then the manpower and so on is a huge resources going forward. So that's something that we try to avoid if possible. The second thing, which is I think it's very innovative and very interesting, is that it solves the problem that I just mentioned earlier, where there's a thermal camera that goes around and detect potential hotspots as it goes to kind of clean the panel. And I think technologies like that, as we mature, as we grow further, are actually very useful. That serves multiple purposes, and this digital application that allows the asset owner to have a peace of mind to say that my panels are always generating as per the amount that I want, which translates to the cash return. And at the same time, it allows me to have a peace of mind to say that the asset is actually defect free, which means that the O&M is a lot easier. I don't have to waste that. I think that translates a little bit to like the soft cost that Pierre mentioned, and also some other costs involved as part of this O&M management, which translate to a further reduced cost for the entire solar asset. I think these are interesting things that we looked at, we see in this region developing. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you very much. I think you pointed out a very important point related to stable revenue, right, for the intermittent power, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I think going to the OEMs, GE, and in this case, as you know, Arka, myself is also a developer. We also changing from try to transition from kind of like stable power, you know, gas combined cycles, geothermal. We're transition into a more intermittent power right now, winds and PV, and I think a lot of IPP is in that stage as well. And as a technology provider, and putting one of the important point related to stable revenue, as Jeremy mentioned, what do you think the role GE or OEM here in able to, you know, convince the IPP that is try to transforming from stable power, kind of like a more base kind of power plants to transition? So how you convince us?
So it's like a sales pitch to you now today. No, I think the company like GE and also the similar company of what GE is doing as well. Basically, our contribution in digitalization. The short answer is a lot, Adri. So we can do a lot, right? But maybe if I can break it out to three different buckets, right? So the first one is basically optimize the plan asset management. So
sorry, Arka, is just me or your voice is kind of like up and down?
Oh, is it? Okay. I'm not sure. Pierre and Dongming, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear.
Yeah, same, up and down, yeah.
Up and down a little bit.
Okay, so, well, okay, right. No, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, it's clear now.
It's okay.
Basically, a company like GE, right? So the short answer when it comes to digitization, our contribution is a lot, actually. That is the short answer. But if I can put it to three different buckets, perhaps, of course, the first one, it helps optimize the plan asset management. I believe it is quite crucial for IPP to make sure your assets for the long term is optimized and as well managed, right?
Your voice still up and down, Arka.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Not sure what is happening. Let me check quickly. How about now?
Yeah. Let's see.
Is it okay?
Nah, up and down again.
Okay, I'm not sure what is happening actually.
Probably your headset, I guess. No?
Is it okay now?
Yeah. Now it's okay.
Still?
Yeah, it's okay now.
Is it okay?
Yep.
Not sure what's happening because my son's school is already finished, so I'm not competing bandwidth with anyone else actually. But yeah, no. Just to repeat. So the first one is basically optimize the plan asset management, Adri, right? So as IPP, I believe it is quite important to have an asset that is well managed for a very long period of time for the period of PPA, right? And then the second of all is basically to improve the plan efficiency and reliability. You would like to make sure for the 20 years you basically operate it at the right way and efficient as well, which digital can help. And the third is quite interesting that you have mentioned is on the grid side, right? The intermittency and how it helps in terms of injecting to the grid. So basically with digital, you'll have a transparent flow of information from planned asset to the owner onto the utilities, right? So basically it creates a robust grid system with forecast and also balance in supply and demand, right? So this is where I see that the digital or a company like GE can bring this experience. So GE with its experience on conventional power system and leading the digital wave basically for power plant data analytics has been applying its experience, right, to make digitalization a big enabler for renewable energy system, which is what your warrior is. And basically what we do is during the journey we have started in 2015, right? We introduced Predix. If you remember, we introduced the digital twin as well. Well, basically we can fit into the entire spectrum from power plant level to the grid level as well. So back to your question, a company like GE who has full understanding on the hardware front and combining it with the software front will be bringing the accurate predictive kind of approach and planning to make sure that you have the optimized plan, you have an efficiency, and you have a good flow of information to the grid system by creating the robust grid system as a whole. I hope you can hear me okay now.
Yeah, we can hear you. So thank you for
Okay,
your
cool.
answer, Dark. I think you know it's quite clear the role of the OEMs here. So I still have a lot of questions, but you know, to be fair, let's go through the Q&A sessions from the audience, right? I think I'll try to make it open. If one of you want to answer the question, feel free to unmute yourself. First question: financing cost accounts for a big chunk of the soft cost. How does digitalization play a role on this? Anyone want to answer this question?
Yeah, I'm happy to give it a first shot. So what we see, it's true that financing cost remains a big part of a cost and also a big part of a schedule, which is important. You always have to allow for a long period of time to finance the project. What we think is that through digital and through platforms, you can have a better match between developers and financiers. Today, the way projects are financed is based on people's network, and the reach into the financiers community is limited. With a digital platform, you're able to have more projects, more buyers, and to have overall a better match. Digital can also help improve the quality of the asset, right? If you were able to better optimize the project, if you were able to better select the technology for your project, if you were able to better identify risks through a GIS platform, through digital, then you please financiers more, and you get better terms from financiers. And maybe last but not least is that through digital, you're also able to increase the speed at which projects are developed and built, and who says compressed schedules say also reduce financing costs. One example is during construction. If you're able through digital to better manage your project, better streamline the flow of information, of people, of goods, and you're able to build your project in 6 months instead of 1 year, then your financing costs during construction will be significantly reduced. Thank you.
Thanks for your answer, Pierre.
Maybe I jumped in as well, Jianming from EDF here. I think that's a great question. I mean, personally for me and the team in Singapore, we are developing a couple of microgrid projects in Indonesia. I think that kind of lead to the second question as well as in Myanmar. Financing, so the question here is financing cost accounts for a big chunk of the soft cost. Well, I'll probably rephrase that question to say that pricing risk into the project actually increases your IRR requirement, especially for me when I go to the investment team to kind of work this out. And I just give an example of like the microgrids that we're trying to develop, let's say in Myanmar. So what happens here is that, you know, EDF, we finance our own project. We have our equity inputs into it. But then again, even the internal team, they have to price the risk as per what it is. So for example, in Myanmar, we are trying to develop microgrids in what they call the phase 4 and phase 5 of the NEP program, of which the grid will not arrive, say, for the next 10 years. So in this case, what we are saying is that we are selling electricity. We are building microgrids, we are building solar assets, we're selling electricity to people who are technically off the grid for quite significant distance off the grid, and they are relatively not so well to do. I mean, so the point here is that we are trying to sell electricity to this group of ecosystem of people. And the risk here is significant, right? Because what if they default on payment? We don't know about that. And once they default on payment, you don't get your returns on investments from there, and that is actually risk that's being priced up into the project. So how do we kind of resolve this? So there are a couple of ways that we work on this. For example, we try to, I mean, at least for the project that I'm working on, we try to target on, like, say, brownfield projects. These people who actually has already been using electricity through diesel genset, but just that not for a long duration. That's one way of doing it. Some other ways of doing it is to input smart meters to it, which is then again a digital aspect to how we can reduce the risk which in turn reduce the financing cost, if you like, of this project. So these are some of the mechanisms that we try to do, and of course, among others that we are trying to explore as we roll out some of these projects at this point in time. And of course, I think it's a valid question, but digitalization can play a role in giving the investors more comfort. I think of course you try to reduce the spread of the middleman, but in this case we are trying to reduce the risk also. So that's another factor that we thought would be interesting, and this is one of the things that we continue to pursue further.
I totally agree with your answer, Jianming. I mean, as a developer, I guess, I mean, we're in the same positions in terms of looking at the risks and how we kind of like, you know, do the financing approach as well. Arka, any comment from you for the first question?
No, I think I'm okay. I'm interested actually on the second one, a bit on Indonesia. So
awesome.
Directly.
Question. I know you want to answer this question. Fajar Kandar.
Yeah, maybe to Pak Fajar Kandar. I believe, yeah, is Indonesia still attractive? I think you're sharing the same feeling with me, Adri, as well. That it is very interesting. Yes, the government is currently focusing on something that is currently, unfortunately, to us more important, the COVID-19 pandemic. We truly understand the shift in priorities, but overall, this renewable is a long-term game, right? And the growth of Indonesia is expected to bounce back again 2021 onward with 5 to 6% GDP, which, based on the experience, the elasticity ratio between the growth in GDP and the electricity in Indonesia always has been 1 by 1, right? So 5% growth in economy translates directly to 5% growth in electricity. That is at least what happened historically. So with this, yes, the renewable will still be growing. We have a target of 23% by 2025 and continue to grow by 2030 as well. How the digital tools or technology help the renewable project? Any most recent examples? I believe we do have a lot of experience. Maybe what I can share is specifically on hydro, right? You know that we do have old assets in Indonesia, big hydro projects. So what happened is in this old assets project, we try to transform it a little bit from reactive to predictive kind of approach. Basically, we put a lot of hacks in the equipment and having the diagnostic being run routinely. Basically, the idea is to have an early notification of catastrophic failures, right? And also reductions of downtimes. And with this kind of technology, simple technology to access what the equipment is doing and also what might happen in a couple of weeks or months is totally helping the operating and maintenance kind of field, right? So this obviously is only one example, but there's a lot of opportunities or examples that can help boost the renewable industry as well, specifically in Indonesia. So hopefully that answered the second question.
Thank you, Arka. Even though your voice still up and down, but I think we can hear your answer mostly. Any comments, Jianming or Pierre, from your recent examples, I guess, for the second questions, if you have?
Yeah, I'm happy to provide one, and also to show my perspective on how the digital tools have helped or can help renewable projects, especially in Indonesia. And we discussed the fact that digital tools can help reduce cost, and so if it reduces cost of project development and construction, then it makes projects more attractive, and then a more attractive option for government to relaunch the economy and to grow again. That's what we've seen across the world. The opportunity of this dramatic pandemic to focus more money and more efforts on renewable projects. Then in terms of examples, the digital tools allow people to spend more time in front of their computer at home or at the office rather than traveling around the world and spending time on airplanes or in transport. So it enables people to go further without having to do this physical engagement. One example that we had recently is in Vietnam. Through our digital platform, we're able to showcase projects that are being sold as part of an M&A process, and without a digital tool, you wouldn't be able to show that project and the characteristic of that project to a potential buyer. So it would delay the whole process until people can meet and exchange information for that project. That's one example of how this can benefit further transactions in the business. Another example is recently in the US, we are working on a 1 gigawatt project that was permitted by local agencies 100% through a combination of Zoom calls, Zoom public hearings, and also through our platform where information was exchanged about what the layout looks like, what does the master plan look like, what are the impacts on the environment, how does it accommodate topography and hydro and so forth. So that's another example.
Right, and I think these days, I guess even like factory acceptance tests, I mean, we do it even online, right? We don't come to the factory anymore and witness the testing, but it's more on the live version kind of thing. Any comments from you, Jamie, on the second question?
I guess Pierre and Arka has probably described a lot about the digital application, but I mean, from then again a utility developer point of view, Indonesia has always been an attractive place for renewables for a very, very long time, and we think that it's going to come, but hopefully the pandemic will help to put a little bit more pressure to drive more demand and uptake, because of the pure basis that Indonesia is an archipelago, it's always difficult to kind of have grid connection all the way to all the different islands. Microgrids is one of these good solution. I mean, personally for us, we are developing a 6 megawatt microgrid project in Maluku, a combination of biomass, solar, diesel genset, batteries, and so on to service this group of fishermen who often has a lot of fisheries and they can't have cold storage to store them. We think that there's huge potential when we are trying to scale along that direction. But in terms of the digital applications, I think it will be interesting when all these microgrids starts to become a virtual power plant context. How do we kind of make all these things become a decentralized form of generation? I mean, that's pretty much from my side. Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie. And I think I agree. I mean, in Indonesia, I mean, we're 23% is a lot when right now you only have like 10-11% install base, right? So we're looking at, I guess, how many gigawatt? 5, 7, 10 gigawatt in the next few years. There's going to be a lot of opportunity once, a lot of people talking about regulations, talking about, how to boost this renewable. But I think the government have very clear directions, and this is a matter of how we're going to execute it and how the government support as well. I think the players, the technology, IPP financing, everything is available. So, I think it's just waiting for the to go, right? So, but we've seen some of the projects right now already starting, right? I mean, those floatings, big size floatings, for example. So yeah, we'll see more and more renewables coming up, especially in Indonesia. We still have 3-4 minutes, I guess. Another question coming in. Southeast Asia is relatively a national market of renewables. Anyone want to take the question on the question from the Q&A? The government for option. Do you think the government is ready to invest in digitalized platforms?
Yeah.
You want to answer this one, Arka?
Yeah, maybe to comment a little bit, then maybe Jan Ming and Pierre has a different view. But I think the digital here is not to prevent or to challenge this requirement with the government, right? But we are here basically to optimize what is needed from the government side. Yes, the government is looking for the COE. I believe a company like you, Jan Ming, and also you are also looking for a company with LCOE, right? And that is the reason why we are introducing in front of it. Because one of the things is LCOE, but just to give an example in Indonesia, one of the item is also on the grid stability as well, where I believe the digitalization will definitely help between the communication of the plant and the utility side of it, right? So yes, LCOE is one thing, but with digital, I believe this is going to be helping the government and also the IPP like yours to expedite the market. I think that's my view. I don't know, Jan Ming and Pierre.
Yeah, maybe I can jump in a little bit. I would first of all say that Southeast Asia is not one country. It's a combination of different countries, and every country is different. Take example, the 1 gigawatt Malaysia solar project, they broke it down into bits and pieces of 30, 50 megawatts. And the ability for foreign players to be part of it is severely restricted, very restrictive, where they only allow local players. So these elements of things, taking that just purely as example, drive cost upwards. So that's one example. In Indonesia, you can't do businesses without the likes of Indonesia Power and Pilaran. And this kind of monopolized situation also kind of drive costs upwards. So we think that it's less of digitalization issue, but it's more of regulatory issue in Asia. Singapore, of course, then again, for all the liberalized market that we have, has a different set of issue where the market is so competitive with the retailers and so on. You're trying to sell electricity to the pool prices, and it's a whole set of different situations that results in different LCOE that we're talking about. So I hope that gives a broad understanding and framework about Southeast Asia, and which is not a single country. Yeah.
Right. And any final comments from you, Pierre?
I think Aka and Jianming answered it well. Thank you.
All right. So I'm not sure if we still have one more question here. Sorry. So where's the Q&A then? Okay. So I think for a closing statement, I guess a lot of renewable coming in, specifically in PV and wind. We've seen a lot of investment coming in, I think, across the region. We haven't discussed about battery as well, energy storage, which is going to help the renewable penetrations as well as the integrations with all the digital applications, for the hybrid solutions. But I guess, hopefully today discussion will have the audience have a little bit more understanding about digital applications for the renewable energy. So again, thank you very much, Arka, Jianming, and Pierre, for the very valuable inputs for the renewable energy value chain here. And I think, so to close the session, thank you very much.
Thank you, Edwin.
Thank you.
Jianming, Pierre.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks, Adrian, for listening. Thanks, Aka. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, bye. Thank you so much. And thank you for the moderators and joiners. Okay.
Thank you,
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And so that was the panel discussions for green energy future digitalizations, and all our speakers are welcome to stay the panelists. So if our audience have any questions for the speakers, you can raise it through the chat box, and sorry, not chat box, the Q&A box. And for our next speakers will be Mr. James Higgins, the General Manager in China and Southeast Asia from SolarEdge, to talk about how to optimize PV business. So SolarEdge is a global leader in smart energy technology by leveraging the world-class engineering capabilities, and with relentless focus on innovation, SolarEdge creates smart energy solutions that power our life and drive future progress. SolarEdge developed an intelligent inverter solutions that change the way power is harvested and managed in PV systems. Its DC optimized inverters seeks to maximize power generation while lowering the cost of energy produced by PV systems. Continue to advance smart energy. SolarEdge addresses a broad range of energy market segments through its PV storage, EV charging, batteries, and electrical vehicle powertrains. So, hi, Ms. James.
Hi, good afternoon,
Hi.
everybody.
Good afternoon. Okay, so you can start your presentation and share your screen now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, hopefully everybody can see my screen and hear me okay from here in Shanghai, China.
Yes.
Thank you.
Maybe you can turn your screen to the full slides to full screen. Yes. Yeah, that would be good. Thank you.
Are you seeing my full screen now, Zoe?
Yes, it's in full screen.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you, Zoe, for your kind introduction, and good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to present the story of SolarEdge to you all this afternoon. So I'll make a start because I think we're running a little behind the schedule. So firstly, a little bit of background about SolarEdge as an organization. So many of you attending the conference today will know SolarEdge, and many of you won't. So just a quick recap. SolarEdge today is the #1 solar inverter company in the world, by measured as third-party market research data. We've shipped about 21 gigawatts of systems around the world. And that accounts for about 1.75 million PV systems actively monitored around the world with the SolarEdge monitoring platform. I'll talk more to that part of our solution in a few moments. We've shipped a total of about 2.6 million inverters and about 62 million power optimizers. The power optimizer part of the solution, again, I'll talk to more in a few moments' time. We're very much a global company, even though many people on this call in kind of Asia Pacific markets might not have heard a great deal about SolarEdge, but we today have presence in 28 different countries, and we have about 2,800 people worldwide. Importantly, the SolarEdge solution is very, very different than traditional inverter solutions, and that's supported by the fact that we have over 350 patents currently awarded for our technology and more than 300 pending grant. Just to reinforce the message I mentioned a moment ago, we are a fast-growing company, and since the company filed IPO back in 2015, we've finally reached our objective that was set when the company was formed in 2006 to be the leading inverter company in the world, ahead of all of the traditional inverter companies that you can see listed here on the slide. I wanted now just to quickly recap in terms of the limitations that exist for and with traditional PV systems. So firstly, there is a classic problem with traditional inverters, and that is energy loss. As most of you on the conference call probably understand and realize, that traditional inverters all manage the maximum power point of the system by managing that maximum power point at the string level within a string of modules. That means that no one module is ever working at its peak performance, because the maximum power point tracking algorithm is constantly trying to find the best fit across a complete string of modules. Worse still, if one of those modules starts underperforming for any reason, it actually drags the performance of the entire string down, resulting in energy losses from the system. So modules can't ever work truly at their maximum potential production of power. Secondly, all traditional systems suffer from the same inherent design flexibility limitations: string length design, string layout, modules facing in different directions, strings of unequal length are impossible with traditional systems. So it limits both the layout and the size of a PV system on any given rooftop. Thirdly, traditional inverters provide very low level of resolution in terms of monitoring data. In fact, with traditional systems, there is no data on module level performance. At best, you get string level performance, and at worst, all you can expect from your solution is information that's the AC power that's produced from the inverter. No granularity of information from within the system. And last but not least, there are inherent safety hazards associated with traditional inverter systems. high DC voltages are ever present when the sun is shining, even when the AC power is off for some reason. So there's an inherent safety challenge. When SolarEdge as a company was formed, the founders of the company decided to design a system that addressed all of these fundamental limitations with traditional inverters, and hence the SolarEdge solution. So how do we overcome those limitations in detail? So firstly, what we've done is we've taken the functionality of a traditional inverter, which basically fulfills three functions in the PV system. Classically, of course, it provides the means for converting DC to AC power, which is the useful power that we can use in our homes, in our buildings, and into the grid. The traditional inverter also has a built-in maximum power point tracking capability for string level maximum power point tracking. And thirdly, the inverter fulfills the safety requirements of grid interaction, such that if there's a problem with the grid, the inverter is able to sense that and switch down and switch off, so anybody working on the grid is safe and protected from forward pushed power. SolarEdge decided to take that traditional architecture and essentially split it into two parts. We've taken the maximum power point tracking element out of the inverter completely. So there's no components, there's no circuit, there's no software sat in the SolarEdge inverter related to maximum power point tracking. All of that's been moved into what we call a DC optimizer. And the DC optimizer is located at the PV module where the power is produced. And I'll explain the relevance of the DC optimizer in a few moments' time. Of course, the other part of the SolarEdge solution is what we describe as very much a simplified string inverter. Having reduced all of the components related to maximum power point tracking, we've been able to develop a simple, lightweight, small footprint, highly reliable inverter that still fulfills the function of DC to AC power conversion and grid interaction, but there is no maximum power point tracking capability built into the inverter. So what does that mean in terms of system architecture for our customers? So this is a typical system architecture for a commercial solution. In actual fact, the fundamental architecture of SolarEdge solutions remains the same, whether it's a small residential system or a large ground mount utility system. Fundamentally, the architecture is the same. And the system is essentially made up of two hardware components and one software component. And I'll describe each one in turn. The power optimizer, the SolarEdge power optimizer comes in a number of different configurations depending on the module power class that we're looking to work with. Fundamentally, what this is doing in the system is providing power electronics at the module that enable us to provide module level maximum power tracking. So we overcome the fundamental limitation of a traditional inverter by maximizing the power of each individual module in the string rather than the string as a whole. That results in us protecting the system from energy losses. So we produce more energy from the system. The optimizer also enables two other important features of the SolarEdge solution. The first one being module level visibility within the system. Because we can connect through the inverter to the optimizer with power line communication, we're able to track the performance of each module in the system in terms of its power, its current, its voltage, its temperature. So we provide a really important and valuable tool for monitoring the system performance, for ensuring we provide most efficient operation and maintenance capability for the system as it's running. Additionally, because we now have power electronics at the module, we're also able to implement safety features within the SolarEdge solution that are not possible with traditional inverters. And very simply, and I'll explain more about safety in a moment, very simply, if there is no AC power production from the SolarEdge system, the optimizer limits the output voltage from the optimizer to 1 volt DC. So in the event that there's no AC power, we have safe DC voltages present all the time on the DC bus. The optimizer itself is warranted in the system for 25 years. So once the optimizer installed, you've got complete peace of mind for the lifetime of the system. The second component in the SolarEdge solution is of course, the inverter itself. For commercial systems, we have inverters ranging from 15 kilowatts all the way today through to 120 kilowatts, depending on the size and design of the system. And the SolarEdge inverter is warranted as standard for 12 years, which is typically more than double the warranty that's provided on traditional string inverters. And we can very cost effectively extend that warranty to 20 years. So you have, again, complete warranty coverage for typical system lifetimes with commercial solutions. So those are the two hardware components that provide the functional value from SolarEdge, and that's combined with the third component, which is the SolarEdge monitoring platform, which is a module level monitoring platform that's free for the system lifetime. It's a cloud-based solution, so you can access the monitoring platform from any connected device and check real-time the system performance, configure system alerts, so you can get alerted to when system performance is below expectation or when there are problems within the system, so you can manage the asset much more effectively. And of course, you can configure third-party sensors to the solution, so you can get full system PR-based data by adding environmental sensors into the solution and read them through the SolarEdge monitoring platform. So with those three components, the DC optimizer, the simplified string inverter, plus the SolarEdge monitoring platform, we offer 4 key benefits to our customers. And these 4 key benefits remain consistent irrespective of the system size. We're providing for more energy. More energy is delivered because we restrict the system losses associated with a mismatch that exists in the system. As I mentioned earlier, if you have mismatch with a traditional inverter solution, that results in energy loss because of the string level maximum power point tracking. With SolarEdge, you reduce that loss and therefore produce always more power from a SolarEdge solution than you would with a traditional inverter. We provide a solution that affords lower operation and maintenance costs. The fact that we provide for full visibility of the system for the lifetime of the system, gives the perfect tool for managing the PV asset through its life cycle. One of the key benefits here is remote troubleshooting. So often with traditional systems, the only way that you can fix a problem in a PV system is to go to site with your digital voltmeter and start measuring voltages on strings and then on individual modules until you find the root cause of your problem. With the SolarEdge solution, you can basically do it from hundreds or even thousands of miles away and remotely troubleshoot exactly where the problem exists. And then operation and maintenance teams can go to site with the right equipment at the right time and make the process much more efficient from a cost point of view. Safety, of course, is enhanced with the SolarEdge solution. I have a slide in a moment just to explain that more, but basically throughout the life cycle of the project, through installation, commissioning, maintenance, and hopefully this is never an issue, but in the event of a fire, we provide benefits to this to the first responders in emergency events, such that they can make the PV system safe, so they can tackle any fire that might exist around the PV system. And of course, I mentioned that we provide much better design flexibility because of the system architecture. We enable much longer strings. We enable string lengths of uneven quantity of modules. We allow modules to be even facing in different directions on the same string, thus enabling maximum space utilization on any rooftop. So how does that kind of translate into system cost and revenues and value? So Typically, the lifetime value of a system is a function of the cost and the lifetime revenue. It's a very simple kind of calculation. With storage, your electrical balance of system costs are always going to be lower than with a traditional system, and that's driven by the architecture of the system. We enable significantly longer strings with the SolarEdge system. Longer strings in a system design means fewer strings. Fewer strings means fewer DC cable home runs back to combiner boxes or inverters. As a result, you're saving costs on copper just from fewer cable runs. And of course, more importantly, in my view, you're saving on connection points within the system, which are typically the highest risk parts of an PV system. So you're not just reducing the cost, you're inherently improving the system reliability and reducing the risk associated with the connectors. Inverter replacement costs over the lifetime of the system are always lower with SolarEdge. Our warranty standard of 12 years or even 20 years if it's extended provides over the lifetime of 20 years or 25 years a much lower inverter replacement cost than with traditional inverter solutions. Lifetime operation and maintenance costs is also reduced. Combined with the warranty, the remote troubleshooting capabilities that we afford through the monitoring platform really provide service providers or system owners with a tool that enables them to utilize and ensure that their operation and maintenance is at its most efficient level possible. Lifetime revenue is always higher with SolarEdge. The fact that we have module level maximum power point tracking, which mitigates for all types of mismatch that exist in a system, mean that over the lifetime of the system, the energy production will always be higher, and therefore the dollar production from the system will always be higher. And of course, mismatch can exist for many, many reasons. Many people believe that it's just because of shade, but there are multiple factors that will affect module to module mismatch, not least of which, of course, is module degradation. That's part of the datasheet guarantees that you obtain from module manufacturers. They all guarantee a linear degradation in performance typically over 25 years, but of course they don't all age at the same rate. So if one module in a string is aging faster than the other modules, that means in a traditional system, the other modules will stop working as effectively and therefore produce less energy over the system lifetime. That's just one example of where non-shaded systems even benefit from a SolarEdge solution. As a result of all of those reduced costs and improved revenues, of course, the lifetime value of a SolarEdge system is always superior to that of a traditional system, even when we're comparing to very low-cost solutions. The SolarEdge system provides benefits to our customers over the lifetime. I wanted to talk a little bit about protecting your PV asset as an investment. At the end of the day, I'm sure many speakers have already spoken about PV being a financial asset to generate income. So it's very important that you protect that investment over a 20-year period. That's the lifetime of the asset. So with SolarEdge, we provide a future-proofing capability, again, that's not really possible with alternative solutions. I've mentioned already the ability to mitigate mismatch and mitigate module aging losses. But we're also able to protect against unpredictable environmental changes or obstruction changes that might occur after many, many years of installation. You might install a system in a brownfield site where there's no construction in anywhere adjacent to the PV system, and in 10 years' time, there may be trees growing, there may be other obstructions that have been put in adjacent to the PV system that start to create shade, which creates mismatch in the system. With SolarEdge, you have peace of mind that those are not going to affect ultimately the system production in a highly meaningful way. Defective modules can also be replaced in the future with any available module that's available in the market. We're not restricted to try and match the electrical characteristics of modules in the existing PV array. You can install a much higher power class module, for example, or even a much lower power class module if you have some old inventory, without affecting the rest of the system. And we guarantee higher system uptime over that lifetime of the PV system asset. The ability to monitor the system at the module level, provide real-time alerts and detection, and fast response to events as they occur mean the system uptime can be higher, and the system production will therefore be higher over the system lifetime. From a safety point of view, in terms of protecting your asset, we have a number of features that are built into the system architecture as standard. So the first benefit and feature that we have is something called Safe DC. And this is the feature that I mentioned earlier in the presentation, whereby in the event that the AC power is not producing, the inverter is not producing AC power, the DC side of the system is automatically switched down to a safe level, to 1 volt DC output on each optimizer in the system. With SolarEdge, you can potentially have string lengths up to 60 modules. So even worst case scenario with our commercial solution, which is typically 1 optimizer for every 2 modules, a string length of 60 modules will safely default to a voltage on the DC side to 30 volts in the event that the AC side is not producing power. So it's safe voltages for people to be in and around and working. We also have rapid shutdown capability built into the system. As many of the audience, I'm sure, are aware that rapid shutdown is becoming an increasingly important regulatory requirement, in fact, in many countries around the world. And I think this is an inevitable change, an inevitable trend that will also follow in Asia Pacific and in Southeast Asia in particular, as the understanding of safety risks continues to improve and grow. The SolarEdge system that's sold today comes effectively out of the box with a rapid shutdown capability built in. So we're able to discharge conductors to a safe voltage within 30 seconds, in line with the latest code requirements around the world. Arc fault protection, again, is built in. We have the ability to detect and terminate arcs by shutting down the inverter if we detect signatures within the data that are likely to be arc faults. So we shut down so those potential faults can be investigated and prevented from ultimately resulting in a fire in the PV system. And of course, last but not least, we have the module level monitoring, which has the ability to send out automatic notifications when something strange is appearing in the data. Something strange might not mean a safety fault, but it may well mean a safety fault, which can then be investigated and addressed rapidly and effectively without compromising the safety of the system. In addition to all of the product components that we supply and the software and the benefits that I've described, we also ensure that we offer a comprehensive service suite to guide our customers and our partners through the complete project life cycle of a PV system. So we have project design and pre-sales staff that can help our partners and customers design systems for optimization, so they can best take advantage of all of the SolarEdge benefits from a cost point of view. Of course, we provide comparative PV simulation studies and LCOE and ROI calculations as part of our pre-sale activities. During the project execution phase, it's important that we are working together to validate designs, provide hands-on training, on-site support where necessary, to ensure a smooth installation and commissioning of the PV system. And then we provide capabilities for operation and maintenance. The SolarEdge platform can be configured to provide fleet management services, to flag pinpointed alerts where they occur within a fleet of systems, monitor performance comparatively from site to site, from system to system, all of which provides a real set of valuable tools for operation and maintenance over the lifetime of the system. SolarEdge can be as involved or as our customers require, and we can take care of some of that remote monitoring capability for our customers. And to really conclude, I wanted to reinforce why SolarEdge is the kind of inverter supplier of choice, and increasingly so in every market that SolarEdge is active in. SolarEdge is, of course, a strong company. It's financially bankable, financially very strong and profitable. It's a publicly traded company, so all of our financial metrics, balance sheet valuations, and so on are publicly available in the public domain. And we have basically a substantial track record now in commercial PV. Commercial and industrial applications today are probably our fastest growing segment across our entire business. Of course, we provide our customers fundamentally with a better bottom line. The lifetime benefits of SolarEdge clearly and easily offset the slightly higher cost of our inverter solution by reducing balance of system costs, reducing operation and maintenance costs, and of course, producing more energy fundamentally. We offer a solution for providing improved asset management for investors, for system owners, for developers, guaranteeing higher system uptime, mitigating risks through the system in the long term, and protecting investments, and of course, superior safety solution. And as I just presented, a complete service suite that covers the entire life cycle of the project, from pre-sale design through to advanced operation and maintenance tools for the lifetime of the system. And that's my last slide. So I'll happily take questions, although I'm not sure if I've overrun my time, Zoe.
Hi, James. Well, no, don't worry, it's just available. And we got two questions for you, but we might only select one for you, and then you can answer another one through the chat box directly. Is that okay?
Okay, so.
Okay, sure. So I think we might select the second one. So the question is, do we need a DC combined box for your inverter solutions? If yes, why BOS lower? And can you explain more?
So typically with the SolarEdge solution, we can avoid DC combiner boxes. So that's one area that we reduce the balance of system cost. But the main reason for that is because we have fewer DC cable runs back to a combiner. So we don't need to combine many DC cable home runs back to a combiner box that are then connected to the inverter. So by reducing the number of strings, we can reduce the need for combiner boxes in the system, thus reducing the balance of system cost.
Okay, right. Thank you for your answer. And so you can also type your answer to another question through the chat, Q&A box.
Okay, we'll take care.
Okay, sure, thank you. And you can stay in the panel list for a long time if we received any other questions. Yeah, just received another questions, so you can answer them. Sure. Okay. Thank you for your speeches. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Right. And so that was the speaking sessions from SolarEdge, and now we're going to move to our next sessions, which will be presented by Mr. Hasnal Osman from UITM, who is the Director of Project Deliveries, and he is going to talk about sustainable asset management. So UITM Energy and Facility is part of the UITM holding groups, which is wholly owned by UITM. The group has 9 subsidiaries with a highly diverse business profile. ranging from energy, facility management, education, hospitality, healthcare, and others. So this company is currently on 75 megawatt solar plants with great investment in various sustainable asset solutions, ranging from large-scale solar to rooftop solar and energy optimized assets. And hi, Mr. Omens. Hello, can you hear me? Hi.
Yes, I can hear you.
Waiting. Yes, right. Good. And so maybe you can start your presentations now. I will leave the microphone to you.
All right. So let me share my screen.
Yes.
Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, I can see it.
All right. So first of all, thank you. It has been a very good day for us at UiTM Energy and Facility. First of all, I would like to thank two leader associates for inviting us to share our little journey in area of sustainable asset management. And today also has been another good day for us because we just received a commercial operation date for us today for a 25 megawatt peak solar in Pasir Gudang. So we have been toiling for this project for nearly 3 years, and finally today is the day, and it's such a coincidence with the Clean Energy Week. So what I'm going to talk about today is basically on the uncertain future that we are going to have, and basically what sustainable asset investment can offer to us. This is a little biography about me. I'm the head of project deliveries at UiTM Energy and Facilities. UiTM UEFSB is basically owned by UiTM Holding and is fully owned by UiTM, which is a public university in Malaysia. It's the largest university in Malaysia, where we have over 146,000 students that are well spread over 36 campuses in Peninsular Malaysia and also in Sabah and Sarawak. And being a dormant company before, we were in property investment. But now what we are looking is that we are looking into sustainable asset investment, where we have currently 75 megawatt peak, large scale solar, and we are also putting solar roof about 66 megawatt DC for the 36 campus. As well, we are looking into energy optimization for our infrastructures as well. So the two-pronged strategies that we are taking at UiTM Energy Facility, not just only on the energy supply, but also we are looking into energy demand, how we can make our buildings to be more efficient. So I would like to share to you, I find this illustration to be very ironic. It's by Chapaste in International Herald Tribune. As we are striving towards our survivability via the industrialization, I think we have basically reduced our resources around. And I find that basically these photos to be dark but true. Yeah. And realizing this, what United Nations has been doing in year 2015, basically United Nations has embarked on 17 sustainable strategy goals, in which item number 7, we look into affordable and clean energy. So that was about 2015, and basically there are targets being put for 2030. And if we put a snapshot of where we are now, first of all, is if you look into the current situation, about 10% of world's 7 billion population still does not have electricity. They're still running on kerosene and so on. Yeah. And the second one, and post-COVID, is basically about 25% of the hospitals in the developing countries does not have electricity supply. So you can imagine the criticality of running during post-COVID or even during this COVID pandemic without a proper electricity for your ICU, CCUs, rooms, and whatnot. If you look into another snapshot where we are now, basically the target for us to achieve on renewable energy is about 20%. And now we are at 70%, where bulk of the renewable energy basically coming from hydro. So there are still a lot of pockets for renewable energy, such as solar, biogas, biomass, to contribute in and basically to reduce the gap. So if you look from the energy demand side, the target was a 3% target, a mere 3% target. And what we achieve here is only 1.7%. So we are still out even on the energy optimization. Yeah. So now, what we need to look into now is basically what kind of ecosystem and technological advances that can bring us forwards towards energy optimization and green technology. The first one, if you look into shared resources, basically what we have now is basically multiple workplaces and also the ability to store data. You don't have to store data in your own servers, but rather you have a cloud solutions. Yeah. So this will come back into a data mining, in which I will talk later. The second one is basically the client basically become more demanding. Yeah? So what they want is basically they want to have solutions, electrical or utility supply. They want to run and pay as per needed basis. So we have to look into smart card solutions so that you just run and pay per use. If you look into predictive maintenance, through the availability of data through the data center, then basically you look into data mining, you can look into BIM, SCADA, and from there, even for large scale plant, you can do your own calculation of your mean time to repair, mean times between failure, and so on. Yeah. And if you look into flexible workplaces, if you look into a typical building, now the head counts would be fluctuating. Yeah. So gone were the days where everybody is working in the office. But now what we have is that there are days that basically we may have an MCO where basically people are working from homes and so on and so forth. So the buildings need to be able to adjust to the actual demand so that we are using energy efficiently. If you look into the energy efficiency pie, so we look into energy efficiency solutions such as smart metering, green products, NEM, and microgrids. And this basically can help us to bring our quest towards energy efficiency. Yeah? And finally, what the IR 4.0 is bringing us into is basically we have to revisit back on our, not only on our assets, but also on our waste. We have to look into, for example, if we own vast land, then you can look into a large scale solar installation. Or if you have multiple buildings, then you can look into rooftop solars. Or even maybe you can look into your waste, such as your palm oil mill effluent, in which basically you can turn it or convert it to be methane, and the same goes to the biomass coming from organic. So these are the areas and that we need to be looking into towards IR 4.0. With this technological advancement, basically they would be the catalyst for us towards achieving a cleaner environment. Yeah. So what I would like to share to you is our experience, our little journey so far. And this is our first plant. It's a 50 megawatt large-scale solar plant in Gambang, Pahang, in the central state of Malaysia. And this is our solar park Gambang. And ironically, the site was initially a sand mining before. Yeah. And during those times, we have a Grand Canyonesque structure, even like a 3-room level going high and so on and so forth. And what we did is basically we have won the bid via large-scale solar one, and we converted 280 acres of a wasteland to be into a green solar park. And by having so, basically we have provided powers for about 22,000 homes, and it leads into a cost, a CO2 avoidance of 56,000 tons. So if you look into other perspective, what we have achieved at UiTM Solar Park 1 in Gambang is basically we have converted a sand mining leasing operation before to be into a green solar park. And by the end of 21 years, inshallah, basically our revenue would hit almost to triple of what we investing in. Now, let me share to you what we have at UITM large-scale solar 150 megawatt in Gambang. What we incorporate in, not just solar or photovoltaic generation plant, but we have a state-of-the-art remote monitoring, data analytics for our power plant producer, power plant controller, and of course we have for inverters as well. Yeah, so all can be viewed through cloud too. And not only that, what we incorporated at our LSS1 research center is also an interactive exhibition center for visitors. And what we aim is basically we want to instill to the younger generation the importance of sustainability. So it's not just as a park that generate energy and sell energy to the utility company, but also it acts as a research center and as well as an interactive exhibition planetarium where basically the students or even the kids can come here and basically understand how detrimental states we are in right now. That's on UITM Solar Park 1. The next one is the one that we just received our COD today. This is on our large scale Solar 2 in Pasir Gudang. It's a 25 megawatt AC and is situated next to a university campus, a population of 3,000 students, and basically it's located on 110 acre of an old palm oil mill plantation. And with a 25 megawatt solar power, basically we are going to be able to provide electricity for nearly 11,000 homes and reduce CO2 by, or avoid CO2 emission by 28,000 tons. And this is the photo of our plant. And even if you look into this, finally we reach or we achieve our COD today. And basically over 21 years period, basically we are going to triple our revenue by harnessing on the solar, basically on an old palm oil mill plantation. Now, the first two examples that I give to you were basically on how we optimize our asset to provide clean energy to Malaysia. But we don't want to be hypocritical. What we are taking, as what I said earlier, we are taking a two-pronged strategy. We look into clean energy supply, and as well we look into energy demand. How can we optimize our existing building? And we take a two, if we deep dive what we do on asset optimization. First of all, we look into energy optimization via ESPC, or we call it energy saving performance contract. And besides that, what we are looking into is that we are putting roof on the various 36 campuses that we have all around Malaysia, and basically we have UITM to sign a solar power purchase agreement with us. So the project type, what we are doing over here is build, own, and operate. And what we do for UITM is basically a zero capex to UITM. We do all the investment. And if you want to talk about frame of sustainability on energy optimization, it's just not an ABC, or it's not as easy as an ABC. There needs to be a framework where there needs to be a multiple level of teams working cohesively in order to get energy optimization to be implemented into one infrastructure. The first one is that we need to have management commitments towards CO2 reduction. It can be from all the way from board of directors to the top management and also to the middle management. The second step is basically to customize action plans asset context. And what we do is basically you have to perform the baseline study to understand on your CO2 footprint. And not only that, you have to create awareness, yeah, about the energy wastages that you have on site. And basically the subject matter expert are going to look into the solutions, basically how they can make the facilities equipment to be more efficient, how we can do heat recovery, for example, from any wash basin or heated basins that you have. So these are the steps that you have to do. And by the end of the day, then this would lead into results where you reduce the CO2 trending, and there is a recognition for the success story. So there needs to be the whole, these slides basically requires the commitment, not just by the working team, but also from management, support teams, and there needs to be a clear strategy being put in line in order for you to do a good energy optimization program. And this is our UiTM Green Campus programs. In Malaysia, we have over 36 UiTM campus with over 150,000 students and 50,000 faculty members. And our electricity bills is a whopping 50 million USD per annum. So you can imagine how much that we have to spend on the energy alone. And having said this, and what we are doing is basically, the first one, we look into energy optimization. It can provide us savings up to 30% for TNB bills. And what the university obtained as well is a pocket savings, not just from the direct investment of electricity saving, but also indirect savings. They don't have to spend on the OPEX, on the CAPEX. They don't have to replace the assets because they are going to replace, we are going to replace them. And if you look into rooftop solar installation, what we are doing is basically we are shaving off the peak power demand at the university site during daytime. And what we are offering is that we are offering energy power supply cheaper compared to what the monopolistic utility companies give to the university. And we implement the net energy metering. And of course, we are looking as well into carbon credit. And by the end of the day, the end game, what we are able to do at UiTM, basically we reduce the carbon footprint significantly. And from the client side, they got a new replacement of asset that would improve basically on the operation uptime and reliability. We improve on the comfort conditions for the student and faculty members. We pave the way that basically we need to be more sensitive on energy consumption. And this as well, we hope basically would kickstart us to be more involved in a Green Metric World University Ranking. And on the energy optimization project solutions, what we have done, what we are currently doing at the 36 campus, of course, I think the brain of the solution is basically on the energy monitoring and management, and through cloud systems. Then you have Wi-Fi solution. Basically, we are able to monitor the behavior and the pattern of the consumption of electricity, not just by one campus, but we can go into buildings, and even we can compare between 2 or 3 chillers. And this basically gives us the ability to do quantitative and qualitative analysis of our energy consumption. And what we are doing as well is that we are replacing all the assets, zero capex to client, and we replace all the non-inverter aircon into a 5-star rated aircon. On the chiller, what we do is that we look into high COE chiller, where the chiller is able, has the algorithm to learn, in which it can do the machine learning, basically to control the flows of the chill water into the system based on the occupation demands and so on. On the lighting, basically we replace the compact fluorescent lighting to LEDs. We look into power optimizers as well. And not only that, we are changing from a single speed pumps into a inverter type, where basically is run and ramp based on demand. And what we are offering to client is basically to UITM is basically is a zero capex. So UITM and is basically is a saving 10 to 15 million US dollar per annum, zero capex. Yeah? And this is on energy optimization. And what we do for the rooftop is almost similar like a large scale solar, but also we are being conscious that we want to keep the green land as well. Yeah? So what we are doing is that we want to harness on Malaysia's solar roof. Yeah, Malaysia's roof. As of now, only 1%, less than 1% of Malaysia's roof basically are covered with solar PV panels. So there are still ample opportunities for us to harness from the rooftops of the buildings in Malaysia. Of course, it runs through inverters. We have metering system. There are switchboard, and it goes to TNB metering. And by basically selling the energy at UITM at lower cost, and basically it would give a saving to university, which is about 2.5 million USD per annum. So this is a lot of saving to the universities. And this is an example of the campus, what we're doing. Some of the photos of doing site mapping, car park inverter installation in some of the campus. In some of the campus, we have converted an open car parks to be a solar car parks, and we do as well the prelim due diligence audit, investment grades audits, as we are doing the financing for this project. And of course, what we do as well, we install the roof on various campuses that we have. And being sustainable for us, what we aspire and what we want to do is basically we increase the supply of clean energy into Malaysia. And as of now, it can power about 54,000 houses during daytime. And we reduce quite a hefty carbon emission as well, about 140,000 tons of CO2 per annum. And along the way, and during this harsh time of pandemic area, what we're able to do is that we are via various project construction development at the campuses, we have basically create about 900 jobs from consultation, construction, installation, operation, and maintenance. And what we hope that all these activities at the end of the day, basically it would bring us very much closer to the grid parity. So there are my 3 takeaways. The first one, I think all of the organization during this time of crisis are in needs to reduce the OPEX and CAPEX. And sustainable asset investment and management is very survival. It's a key for us basically to survive during these uncertainties. And if you take a holistic approach, then one would be able to monetize back the assets via energy supply or save the energy through a smart energy demand solutions. And having said that, basically I would end my presentation over here, and this is where we are, UITM Energy and Facility, and as of now with a 75 megawatt solar park, large scale solar park that we have, and currently installing about 66 megawatt solar on the rooftop. We are one of the we are the university with one of the largest solar installation in the world, and we will continue be looking into sustainable solution. With that, basically I end my my presentation. So now I open for questions. Yeah.
Hi, Osman. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for your speeches, and it was brilliant. As we got about 2 questions, but because of time issues, we will select one, and you can answer another one through the Q&A box. And so the question is, what is the % difference between the real power generation output and projection data in PV system simulations? You can also see the question from the Q&A box.
Right. It depends on the site. Of course, we do those PVC study, and then we do from financial modeling, and basically from our first sites, based on our initial studies, PVCs, which is basically the service in which before we do large scale solar one, basically we are higher actually. We are 3%. We are generating more energy versus what forecasted via our financial modeling, via our PVC study, and our demonstration. During the first site, what we do is basically we use a central inverter, and for the second LSS project, which we currently doing now, I can't tell you. We just get our COD today, and basically times will tell whether it can be even higher than what we forecasted. But as of now, it's about 2 or 3% higher than what we forecast in via PVCs.
Right, thank you for your answers, and you can also answer another questions from the Q&A box. Thank you so much for your attendance today.
Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so that will be the speaking sessions carried out by Mr. Osmans, and if audience got any other questions, you can answer in the ask it in the Q&A box. And our next and also the final sessions will be the keynote speeches carried out by Pierre Rapid from IEA, and he will talk about the power system in transition, digitalization, and the clean energies. So Pierre Rapid leads in IEA's analysis on the challenges and the best practice in integrating renewable energy into power system, covering technology, economic, and institution aspects. He has led great integration analysis in many regions, including China, Indonesia, Thailand, and ASEAN. He has led Australian government-funded research project, which examines the impact of high renewable penetration in the Australian electric sector. He also has the experience in power system operation and planning. So, hi, Pierre Rapid. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, hi. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So you can
okay.
start your
So I'll share my
sharing.
screen.
Yes.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it. You can make it to the full screen.
Hold on. Can you see in the full screen what now?
Well, it seems like you also put another screen. So you can select, yes, that's,
Is that okay?
Yeah, that will do. Thank you.
You see the full screen now?
Yes, it's full screen.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone in Asia, and good morning those in Europe. And thanks for the invitations to speak today. My name is Pirapat. I'm working with the International Energy Agency in the Renewable Integrations and Secure Electricity Unit. Today, I'm going to talk about the power system in transitions by highlighting how digitalizations and clean energy are going to have the impact in the power systems and the importance of electricity security. So a little bit about the IEA family. We are the intergovernmental organizations. We have 30 members countries from the OECD, And in addition to the OECD member countries, thank you to the successful open door policy to emerging economies. The IEA now also include 8 association countries in Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand. In terms of energy demand, the IEA now accounts for around about 75% of global energy demand. And we have been working very closely with the policymakers around the world in order to assist them to provide recommendations on the transition towards energy. For electricity generations, as we see trends over the past several decades, coal and gas have been the major source over the last decades, but over the past several years.
Hi, sorry to interrupt, but it seems like we can see your note for the
slides. Sorry, yeah.
Yes.
I have the problem with my screen, I think.
Okay.
Hold on, please. Sorry. Is it okay or?
You can try to choose the full screen just to see if we can still see the note.
No. Are you still seeing okay. Or? Sorry?
We can't. Now it's just the slides.
Now the slide, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So now you see the slide, or?
Yes. Now it's just a slide. Yes. You can carry on now.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. Hold on, please. I'm just. All right. So just to continue on that, as we can see on this graph that over the past several decades, coal and natural gas has been the major source of electricity generation. And in 2019, coal was still the major source in electricity generations, but we see the increasing trend towards renewables. So by 2024, it is expected that the combined installed capacity of wind and solar PV, as well as other renewables, will be more than gas and coal. In 2025, renewables will become the largest source of electricity generation, surpassing coal. And the dominant source of renewables will still be the hydro generations, which you can see on the graph. Then combine contributions from solar PV and wind will be not far behind. More than the power sector has worked under very stable principles and technologies, but now we're seeing the power sector landscape is changing quite dramatically. Before that, as I mentioned, the deployment of assets was decided by central planning process and pretty much rely on the analog algorithms. In these systems, as you can see, the flows of energy and communications would go in one direction. So coming from power plants and flow through to the customers, whether industry customers or commercial customers, as well as residential. But then the landscape of the power sector is changing quite dramatically. As in this now, the assets will increasingly be decentralized. So a large share of electricity will be provided by renewables, particularly solar PV and wind, which we call it as the variable renewable energy sources due to the variability and uncertainty characteristic comparing to the conventional generation type. In this case, all the energy and telecommunication instead of flowing in one direction, from power plants to the consumers, but now the directions will be bi-directional. So there is also consumers can provide electricity back to the grid in the role of consumers, as we have seen in many countries. The deployment of wind and solar PV is already planning is playing out in many regions around the world. We've been seeing continued growth of wind and solar PV deployment over the past several years. In 2019, as shown on this graph here, that the share of wind and solar PV in total electricity generations in terms of the annual generations in many regions are less than 10%. In Europe, there's more than 10% because of the high share of wind and solar PV, as we've seen, particularly in countries such as Denmark, Ireland, in Germany, for example. But then based on the forecast from the IEA in 2025, most regions will have the share of wind and solar PV exceeding 10%, some more than 20%, such as in regions like Europe. As we look towards 2040, we see the massive accelerations of wind and solar PV as seen on this green curve here. This is under the state policy scenarios, which is conducted by the International Energy Agency. Many regions will see the share of wind and solar PV exceeding 30%. And looking at the sustainable development scenarios, we see that most of the regions will have the share exceeding 40%, some even reach almost 60%, like in places like United States, Europe, even in South Africa, as well as India and China. The role of distributed energy resources are also growing globally as well. One of the main components is the electric vehicles. We see that the e-mobilities, the use of the growth of electric car stock has grown rapidly, with excess of 7.2 billion of global fleet in 2019. And this has been growing very significantly by almost 2 million comparing to last year. And most of the countries that lead the growth is China, where 2 or 3 wheelers in the electric cars and also urban buses has been growing quite continuously. So the role of distributed energy resources and the changing landscapes of the power sector will have the implications towards electricity security, which I will explain in a bit. Now, of course, the electricity sector is at the heart of the clean energy transitions. So digitalizations play a key role, firstly, to integrate the greater shares of renewables, particularly solar and PV. Because digitalization will allow renewables to be integrated into the systems, so it matches the demand as well as the profiles of wind and solar PV that can reduce the curtailment. So based on the previous study in EU, the curtailment of solar PV and wind could be reduced from around 7% to less than 2% in 2040. And this also reduce the CO2 emissions because you allow more solar PV and wind to be generated into the system. With increasing uptake of electric vehicles, as I have shown in the previous slides, digitalization will enable the implementations of the smart EV charging technologies. This also will help to integrate more renewable into the system by help to shape the peak demand and help to integrate renewables by charging the electric vehicles during the period of low demand and there's high output from wind and solar PV. So that integrate more renewables, particularly wind and solar PV, and reducing the curtailment. Increasing the share of wind and solar PV in electricity generation will require greater flexibility because as mentioned previously, due to the unique characteristics of wind and solar PV, that being variables and also uncertain. And this will have some implications on the security of supply in the electricity sector. This happened in the context where electricity has become increasingly dispensable, as we've seen over the past several months due to impact of the COVID-19, that electricity is become a key source. It's very indispensable 24/7. We need to access we're working from home. So electricity is important, as well as for the medical situations in hospital and so on. For this reason, ensuring electricity security is essential for the prosperity of our societies. This graph shows the electricity productions and capacity comparing between variable renewables in yellow, dispatchable low carbon, for example, this include nuclear plants and also the fossil fuels. So the flexibility resource in order to help integrate more renewable into the system will be crucial for the growth of the emerging technologies. So electricity system has to cope with a wide range of threats, especially with the digitalizations, which I will explain in the next slide. So the key properties of electricity security consist of the three main components. One is the adequacy, which is the ability of the system to supply demand at all times under normal operating conditions. Another component is the operational security, which is the ability of the system to maintain a normal state and also can be returned to the normal conditions after unexpected events occur, such as some outages in order to prevent a full blackout. Another main component is resilience, which is the ability to absorb the shocks coming from short-term and also long-term changes. These are the key components of how to ensure security of the electricity supply. Digitalizations offer many benefits for the electricity systems and also for the clean energy transitions. But of course, increased connectivity and also automations, including the rapid growth of the connected devices, is expanding the risk of the cyber attack. And this will have the implication for the cybersecurity because everything become more digitalized, especially in the electricity sector. So the threat of the cyber attacks on the electricity system is substantial and also growing. For example, a successful attack could cause physical damage and widespread service disruptions. It is almost impossible to prevent the full attacks. We can minimize the risk. So in this way, we have to ensure that electricity systems must become more cyber resilient to withstand and rapidly recover from attacks if they do happen. So this graph shows the number of incidents relating to the cyber over the past decades. As we see that as more digitalizations, there is a number of incidents is also increasing as well. So policymakers, regulators, and related stakeholders, we have a key roles to play to ensure that the system are resilient to the cyber attacks in the years to come. While electricity systems are changing, so is the climate in which they operate. So this climate change also poses increasing threat to electricity security because it will impact the entire electricity value chain, including generation, transmissions, distributions, as well as the electricity demand. So the impact of rising global temperature, patterns of, for example, precipitations, the rise of the sea level, and extreme weather events will have the implication for electricity security, as we have seen in several countries. For example, the Wi-Fi in places like in Australia and also in California that we have seen over the past several months, which will have an impact in terms of supplying electricity to consumers. So these are the recommendations that we come up with in terms of how to ensure that power systems are more resilient to all those threats that's coming from cybersecurity, extreme weather events, and change in the climate patterns, and also how to cope with the increasing share of renewables energy, particularly wind and solar PV. So we have indicating in terms of the interinstitutional aspects, there need to be a clear responsibility with the stakeholders and incentives and rules across the system. For example, the climate resilience in the EU adaptation strategies that can help to increase lowering the risk of the lowering the risk that coming from that can impact the security of its electricity supply. The next aspect is to identify the risk. For example, in terms of the cybersecurity, the Australian energy sector cybersecurity framework is used by utilities to assess their capabilities and also providing the guidance and prioritize action in terms of minimize those risks. Other key components is to manage and mitigate the risk by conducting assessments and exercises while setting standards in order to reducing the risk. For example, this is the work program in Ireland by AirGrid in order to accommodate the very high share of renewables. So AirGrid come up with the work program that determine the maximum amount that allow the share of wind and solar PV into the systems. Currently, it's set at 70% in terms of instantaneous share. Another two key components which I'll go into details monitor progress as well as respond and also recover. All these are explained in detail in the report that we have recently launched, which is called the Power System in Transitions. This is the report that I was referring to, Power System in Transitions, which identify challenges and also opportunities ahead for electricity security, covering the main three topics that I mentioned. The first one is with increasing share of wind and solar PV and the transition towards clean energy, and how do we accommodate that? And then another two key components are the cybersecurity and also the climate resilience. So as part of the report on Power System in Transitions, which has been launched at the end of October, the System Integration of Renewables Ministerial that will organize in Singapore. So the report, as mentioned, three key aspects: energy transition from the growth of renewables, cyber resilience, and climate resilience. So in this case, we would like to thank the countries contributing to the efforts by the International Energy Agency to secure affordable energy transitions, including the Clean Energy Transition Program. So especially relevant in this work is the support provided by government of Italy in the context of the project on smarter digital power and also a resilient system to energy transitions, which allowing us to expand the work on this topic. So the IEA is working a lot now, expanding our work on digitalization, looking to how to accelerate grid modernizations and the use of demand-side resources to provide flexibility. This is including, for example, demand-side response in its energy efficiencies. So these full reports are available for free download on the website if you want to look into the details. Thanks very much.
Hi, Pierre Rapid. Thank you so much for your presentations, and thank you for letting us know that we can share your slides. Thank you so much. But since we kind of run out of time now, so we couldn't proceed your Q&A sessions. But if we received any feedback from our audience, we will let you know as soon. Right. Okay. Thank you so much. So that will be the last sessions of our today's conference. Thank you so much for all our audience participants and your patience. So I would like to thank again for our amazing speakers and their brilliant speeches. If audience, you got any more questions or would like to know more about their company or their product, you can use the one-on-one meeting and virtual exhibition functions on our virtual event platforms. And our tomorrow's sessions will be about green energy future Indonesia, green energy future Malaysia, and green energy future Myanmar. So that you can see the brief agenda on our slides. The Zoom link will be sent to all speakers and delegates about 15 minutes before the sessions. So hope we will see you all again tomorrow. Thank you so much for your attendance.